all of a sudden my results surpass what I think I'm worth.
Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
This saying right here, it's important. I want you guys to think about this. When I stop doing the work, my results surpass what I think I'm worth. It's true in any entrepreneur. It's true for specifically commission-based salespeople, and it's really true for anybody that has a contract-based commission system, meaning that you got to sell the person, get them under contract, fulfill the contract, get to the closing, right? And it's interesting. What do you guys, take a minute to be with that and write that down. Think about it overall, right? When I stop doing the work, my results surpass what I think I'm worth. What do you guys think that means?
Stop doing the work, whatever it is that's coming your way, that should be coming your way, you feel you don't deserve, you haven't been putting any effort or work or whatever you want to call it into that.
Yes, you said a key word, coming your way, right? And so I'm going to give you guys a hint to this. That's kind of a way to look at things on what happens, and it's kind of the same thing you see all the time. You got a piece here, that's build, and you got a piece here, that's burn. And what you find happens is most salespeople do two things constantly. What do you think it is? Build and burn, build and burn, build and burn. What's that mean? So we build it up, and then what do we do? Burn that to the ground, right? We get bored, we burn it to the ground. We have these stories come in. Same thing happens at any business level too, myself included, right? Because you build it up, you get momentum. What do agents do? Get a nice check, make $10,000, $20,000 in a month, and what do? Take the foot off the gas. And that's a question I wrote down. I actually wrote right here for you guys in my notes to ask yourself, when do you take your foot off the gas? When do you take your foot off the gas? What's the number that you can be bought for? Right? But there's the certain thing, and there's a mentality for that. And that's a key point. A lot of that comes down to when people solely focus on money. But there's a key part here that I want you guys to question, go yourself and look and see what happens here. Right? Because there's this thing here, and this is the key part that Matt talked about, is that these results here have what we call a lag. That's the part that's very sneaky about this business, is that your results are in a lagging place from the actual work. And so if I draw it out for you guys and how it works and why it's important to understand this, is the results operate and look like a wave. And so let's say you got here, right, that I'm over here, this is me, right, and I'm over here doing the work. And so I have my work right here, I'm leading here. That's me doing the work, right? But ideally, what happens is you're leaving this wake behind you. That's the lag. That's actually what? My results. So if I lead here with the work, what happens to my results behind me? Yes. So this is called the work. My results are pushing this way. Then all of a sudden what happens? The lagging piece is AK the money. Now, what happens is, all of a sudden we're driving, we're going, we can do what? Take our foot off the gas, and what still shows up? Those results. And so what does it do? It gives us false hope. It gives us a fantasy of us thinking like, hey, I can take my foot off the pedal, and guess what? Nothing happens. It keeps coming, it keeps coming, it keeps coming. So what happens is that wake is still going, right? I'll watch boats go out of my house. They leave this big-ass boat. Boat's gone. Then what happens? Finally, the wave comes and smashes my dock, and I get pissed in radio. Like, what the f*** are you doing? And I'll call their boat name on the back, and then they slow down really quick, right? So the thing is, it's always the lag indicator. Now, here's the crazy part I want you guys to look at and understand, right? Ideally, it also works in reverse. And so let's say here I have ideally the work, and what happens is my work does what? It decreases. The actual result, the lag indicator, shows up where? later on. And so it constantly builds this build and burn, build and burn, build and burn over and over and over. And it's really the overall disease in salespeople. They build up the results, they fill up the gas, and so it's something that constantly happens. But I want you guys to understand this piece here is awake. And we got to be aware of what? Our wake. Most people that smash my dock aren't really aware of the wake that's 3 feet. They're just driving. And so there has to be a constant focus on regards to what you do, and you have to be understanding that that's my lag indicator. And so I always have to do what? Have to lead here with the work. And I got to be aware of doing what? Pulling my foot off the gas. Why is that? Yes, and I wrote this down too, is no matter how successful you get, you cannot stop the lead flow. And lead flow meaning what? New business, new business, new business, new business, new business, right? Not necessarily marketing or a certain piece, but I've got to make sure I'm constantly nurturing, calling, follow up my new business at all times. But because the minute that I don't, all of a sudden, I've taken my foot off the pedal here and I can't see it. Just like when people start eating bad, right? I mentioned, hey, look, got the holiday brain, right? When you're eating, and what'd you say? 8 pounds in 2 weeks. Did you feel it initially? No. You look up all of a sudden, you say what? Holy shit. Just gained 8 pounds. Yep, that's how you go from 8 pendings down to 1 pending. Right? Or 6 pendings down to 1 pending. Or 10 pendings down to 2 pendings. Because we have this point that we stop leading indicator here with our workpiece. Right? So you got to make sure that there's this whole thing I wrote down to my notes. There's this temporary moment where the results appear to continue moving in momentum. A temporary moment where results continue moving in momentum. And so we feel the results moving on, but guess what's really happening? The momentum's dying. And so I want you guys to have that mindset in this last piece of the last couple weeks here. On the flip side, going through the process of first quarter, second quarter, because right now you're gearing up for what? All of 2022. The work you're doing today is going to set the tone for how much money you're going to make first quarter. And that's already started a month, 2 months ago. And so just be aware that, hey, look, I can pull my foot off the pedal a little bit this month, but guess what's going to happen? There's always going to be that lag. And so I want you guys to understand, write this down. My leading indicator is the work. My lagging is the wake, aka the results. Which one do I need to be obsessed with? The leading piece. I cannot allow myself to be able to feel into the results. So I want to celebrate a little bit, yes, but I cannot allow myself to fall in this. And some of y'all do it over and over and over. And the most valuable thing I can do as a leader is teach you. So number one, be aware of it. And the one takeaway I really want you all to have from this, and the one killer in this, and the biggest mindfuck of all, is the piece right here, is that all of a sudden my results surpass what I think I'm worth. Looking at those two things, what does that mean now? By the time my results start showing up, once I haven't been doing the work, guess what happens to me mindset-wise? I'm in scarcity, I feel unworthy, and I know I have been checked out, and I feel guilty, and I isolate, and it's much harder for me to get back. I watch it all the time. People stop doing the work. Guess what happens? They disappear a little bit, and then what do? First, they do something else before that. They feel guilty about it, right? They're high and slip in the office or whatever it is, and it not necessarily me. It's just an inside feeling that person happens when the results have surpassed their work. And there's a short period we can hold on to that. We have to understand that, hey, look, my results got to be my lag indicator. My work's got to be my primary focus, right? It's just how you have to be wired. And the whole thing that comes down to is I have to understand and find a way to change my identity. What do you think that means? Find a way to change and update my identity. What do you think that means right there? I've got to constantly focus on the who. So the 4 deals that was my floor before, guess what? Isn't even acceptable. Isn't even acceptable. Right? And so it doesn't start unless I'm aware of it, unless I'm able to make sure, okay, here's where I'm at. It's very easy to change in the beginning when you're broke. Very easy to change when it's painful. But the hardest part, people, is the minute they find this one word right here, comfort, is when everything stops. And I just know that the way you got to look at things is the minute I stop growing, the minute I stop hunting, the minute I stop moving forward, is the minute that the wave catches up with me. I've been like that since the very beginning, right? Because I never want to go back to that place of zero. And so what's one of the things that allows us to find this and keep this going? The goals. Important. What else? That's true. What else? Goals don't necessarily fix it because we all got goals up here that people don't do, right? But it's starting, it helps.
Pain will get some people going.
But once I'm comfortable, what I got to find? Tell you one thing that helps me a lot, it's very important, is you got to take time daily to find gratitude. It's very important. The gratitude part is what helps with the self-worth. When I lose gratitude and appreciation for anything I have, I immediately feel unworthy for everything I have in my life. I'll say it again. The minute I lose gratitude and appreciation for everything I have, that's the minute I become unworthy for everything we have. So true in that scenario. Right? And so it's how we're wired. Went to St. Thomas or St. John, met this couple who was successful before. They retired, moved down to the Virgin Islands. They lived there, had a boat. Met at this beach bar. They seemed really cool. We started talking about stuff, and guess what? All of a sudden, Kelly starts talking about Warrior and me, and all of a sudden the wife breaks down and starts crying. And they're about to get divorced because the husband's depressed and unhappy. And where? Well, the happiest, prettiest place on the planet. Guess what his number one thing was? He's missing. Gratitude. Pull out my phone and show him gratitude stacks. Hey, look, here's what you got to do. Here's where I stack my life, my car, my business, my team, my employees, everyone. Even though I'll get triggered, what's it make me do? Find gratitude. And so the ability for me to find gratitude in all these things that we have, right, it allows me to do one thing. Weaponize my mind. But more importantly, you got to protect you and your mindset, right? I taught that a couple weeks ago. Most important thing anybody has is mindset. That's why I was number one. If you don't got the mindset, I can't help you fix skill set piece, right? And so I want you guys to understand right now, ask yourself the question, and really think about this today, spend some time with it, is where do I put my foot off the gas? Where am I falling in this place of build and burn? Have you been in this place before?
Yeah, absolutely, 1,000%.
Right? So, how do we have to make sure that, look, I got to make sure I'm finding a way to work. And so it goes back to that saying all the time, it's much easier to keep up than to catch up. So I'm in a boat and have a big boat. What's the hardest part about getting a boat going? The beginning, which is what? The plowing part. I'm getting to a place in the boat where that's called what? Plane out. The hardest part, before I get planed out, is when I take off. Wow, all that momentum, all that energy, all that push from the motors have to do what? Push this giant thing about the water. In the beginning, what are you doing? Just dragging water, dragging water, dragging water, dragging water. All of a sudden, what happens? I get fast enough where I start to raise up out the water. All of a sudden, the boat becomes on top of the water. And what happens? Much more efficient, much easier. I can pull my throttle back, and I can continue to go at a much faster pace. The minute that I take the time to stop and start back over again, what's that do? Resets. So ideally, my boat, I can be from my house right here to the very little river, right? At the very end of the mouth in 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. But in between there, they have all these things called what? No wake zones, which means I have to do what? Stop and idle through every single one. And now it turns a 30-minute trip or 20-minute trip into an hour-plus trip. I'm going to have you guys consider you guys do the same shit every day in business. Show up 3 or 4 days, get planed out. What do? Throttle back, take foot off the gas, and you're right back to the beginning, having to plane back out, and have to build the wake back up again. And so I want you guys to think about that piece of like, hey, look, what's my wake look like? And if I feel my results still coming in after doing the work, I've got to be aware of this visualization and say, that's just my results showing up from the work I did 30, 60 days ago. In some cases, 90 days ago. And so if I do one thing this month and also into next week and next month and the week after that, is I've got to be focused on this right here. And I want you guys to understand that's the only thing that matters right now in terms of what that is. And you build yourself into this mindset where you look up and you're like, holy shit, I got 10 deals pending, but guess what I do? I continue to focus on the work. And part of that's going to be doing what? Eliminating distractions. It's the number one killer of success, I think, in business here is distractions. What do you think that means in that scenario? But I notice what people do, they tend to take things that don't matter and pretend they actually matter. So these small little things and speed bumps in life come up, and what do? They pause everything and quit doing what? The work. They switch from proactive time to reactive time, and all of a sudden they just stop the boat and they're back idling through the no-wake zone. And so how many times per week and per month am I allowing myself to stop in a no-wake zone when I don't really need to? That's one thing that's important. There's two types of wake zones. There's a real one that's required by the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, which means if I don't stop there, I'm going to get a ticket. There's another type, which is the owner of a house putting a no-wake zone sign on their dock. I watch people stop all the time for them. I'll blow by them and they get mad at me, not realizing that that's not no-wake zone. That's some dude who bought a sign online and put it on his dock, which I don't blame him. But in reality, I've got to understand, how am I letting distractions make me pull back right now? And that's why I told Alex, hey, look, sometimes, light in the office last week, light in the office when I'm gone. That's the thing, man. You got to understand that only you can control your work and what you do, regardless of who's on what. I wrote this down. I must maintain the intensity enough to keep the weight going. I must maintain the intensity enough to keep the weight going. Does that mean I got a red line all the time? Nope. All the time I can just make sure I'm cruising. But I never let myself get back to the idling piece. Does that mean I got to be burning myself out all the time? No. Can I take some time off and chill out a little bit? Yeah, but it's got to be very controlled and focused. Why? Because I can't let the wake zone or the wake totally die. Very, very important. And I told you it comes down to your identity. That makes sense for you guys in that piece? Very, very important.